Okay, today is the 13th. Okay. We talked about consumers yesterday. In general, they're things that can't produce their own food. They have to eat something else. And there are two big categories of consumers. We have primary consumers. They eat producers, or the material that's made by producers. Secondary consumers eat other consumers. So now I'll shut up and let you copy. Name me a primary consumer. Deer. Goat. Rabbit. Grasshopper. Oh, yes, grasshopper. What else? I don't know. They could be insectivores. I don't know.
A groundhog?
Groundhogs, sloths, sure.
Praying mantis.
No.
What do they do? I don't even know what they do.
They eat bugs. They eat other bugs. They're squirrels would be primary.
Sloth? Sloths don't. They just lay there.
No, sloths eat vegetation.
I don't know, I just knew.
They don't eat a lot. They don't move a lot, but they eat vegetation. What else? Pardon? Koalas. Yeah. Caterpillars. Yes.
Really, a butterfly?
Yeah.
What about flies?
Bees.
Flies are a different category of things. They're altogether a different thing. Bees. A lot of insects are on this primary consumer list. A lot of insects eat plants. We do have insects that eat other insects, or that eat parts of you or parts of other consumers. Name me an insect that would fit into the secondary consumer. Mosquito. Yeah. Anything that's biting you for food. Tick is not an insect. It's a arachnid. Well, it's a parasite too, but that would be a secondary. Okay, so we've got lots of primaries. Could a human be a primary consumer?
Yeah.
Yep. If they're a vegan, if they're not eating any animal stuff. I think Mr. Yeagley. No, they eat eggs. He eats eggs. But somebody who's vegan, somebody who doesn't eat meat or eggs or milk, is a primary consumer. They have moved themselves from secondary consumer to primary consumer. Okay?
You can't even ice cream then, right?
Right. Not dairy ice cream.
That's so depressing.
So, Mr. Yeager.
Name some secondary consumers.
Fish.
What kind of fish?
Sharks.
Okay. Not a fish, but okay.
What about bears?
Well, they're a cartilaginous fish. Bears are, yeah, often.
Dogs.
What kind of bear?
Black bear.
Black bear. Okay.
Is a dolphin a primary? Or is-
No,
Dolphin eats fish.
they eat fish.
Human. Sharks.
Most humans. What else?
Sharks. Fox.
We have sharks. Fox. What else? Wolf. Falcon. Kodiak bear. We could list all kinds of bear species. Yeah. Or grizzly.
Brock's about to go crazy with the snakes.
Okay.
Dogs.
Well, now all snakes would be secondary consumers. That there are no vegetarian snakes. I think all reptiles.
Iguanas eat vegetarian.
Yeah, that's true. Iguanas are actually vegetarians. So iguanas. Oh, and there are turtles that are plant eaters.
They eat crickets.
Though you know what? No, most turtles are opportunistic enough that they will eat bugs. So, okay. Frogs. As adults, not as larvae. What else?
Dogs.
Coyote. One of my favorites.
Someone said praying mantis.
Yeah, praying mantis, absolutely. How many of you have spent time staring at a praying mantis? I highly recommend for fall homework. You need to go out about the middle of September. You need to go out in a field with some nice high grass and walk around till you find a praying mantis making her egg case. Now, first of all, if you stare at her, she'll do this. And it's really kind of creepy. If you find her laying her egg case, you will be amazed. How many of you know what spray foam insulation is? The stuff that comes out of the can and then swells up and hardens. Okay, you should investigate this if you're not familiar with it. The female praying mantis is shooting what looks like spray foam insulation out of what looks to us like her butt. It's the back end of her abdomen. And her whole abdomen is pulsing and swelling as she shoots this stuff out. And as it hits the air, it actually does, just like spray foam, it expands slightly and it hardens. And inside that foamy stuff are her eggs. It's really nice. And
Why
she'll
she,
be...
like, look at you weird.
Because they're one of the few insects that have a real complicated eye, and so they have, I think they do have a compound eye. They probably have some amount of depth perception, and they have an actual, it's not a neck, but in essence, they have what functions like a neck. So most insects can't do this. A praying mantis can, and because of the complexity of their eye, they'll actually move their head around to get a better look at you, which most insects won't do. So.
Bad for the male brain.
I'll read it and then shut up. There are many different kinds of consumers, and we can name them based on what they eat. So, plant-only consumers are herbivores. Only other animals, that makes them a carnivore. And a nice, well-rounded diet of plants and animals is an omnivore. This is the part you've known since about the 3rd grade. Bear. I like it. Human. What else? I'll give you one. Fox. And actually, coyote could probably be classed as somewhat omnivorous. Yeah. Well, they eat fruits. They eat a lot of fruit. And dogs are the same way. How many of you have a dog at home or have ever seen a dog? Up close and personal. You've seen a domestic canine. Good. Most dogs will eat anything. Dogs in general, and coyotes are just a wild form of a dog. They're pretty omnivorous. So really, the coyote, maybe we should move the coyote.
Aren't they generalists?
They are generalists. Coyotes are heavy-duty generalists. Now, cats are a different story. So like that bobcat there, what does it mean if you're obligated to do something?
Forced.
You're forced to do it. You have to do it. You have no choice.
Or you inherit it actually?
No.
Just
If you are obligated to do something,
no way around.
school, coming to school until you are either 18 or you graduate. You are obligated by the state of Ohio to do that. You have no choice. There is no way around it. Cats are what are called obligate carnivores. I'll write that one down. Obligate carnivores. They have to eat 100% meat. Like anybody who tells you they put their cat on a vegetarian diet should have their cat taken away from them. Cats can't. No, seriously, like there are people who put dogs on vegetarian diets because they feel morally that that's what they want to do. That's fine. Dogs can handle that. Dogs like you and I are pretty good omnivores, and they can eat a lot of different things. No, but cats have to eat meat all the time because there are amino acids that their bodies don't make. And so if a cat is not getting enough of those amino acids, they'll die. So like cats, they have no choice. It's eat meat or die for cats. It's not for you and I. I mean, we can choose to eat meat, to not eat meat, how much meat to eat. But cats don't have that choice. So the bobcat's a really good obligate carnivore. Actually, you know what? Let's put the domestic cat on there. We got lots of wild domestic cats running around these days. That's terrible. Okay. So we'll leave the coyote out for right now. The coyote's sort of, it mostly behaves as a carnivore, but it doesn't have to. So we'll leave it on there sort of conditionally. Okay, good. So we've got some basics here. And write down rabbit, groundhog, grasshopper. What was our next one? Squirrel, deer, domestic cat. We'll go ahead and put the coyote in there. I like coyotes. Coyotes! Hawk, bobcat, bear. Write them big. Write them big, 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 big. Just one. You're just writing one. You're just writing one. You're just writing the one that I gave you.
Wait, you gave me?
So we're up to human,
You're a rabbit.
fox. Okay. Got them? Everybody remember what they were? Okay. So now, let's talk. We said we were going to break this down into 5 categories.
You're gonna have us.
Or like stand up.
I'm going to stand up and move around and do stupid stuff in the hall, probably. Yeah. Yep. Okay. We have consumers that eat garbage.
Scavengers.
Well, scavengers are different thing. Scavengers is the term you probably used in an earlier point in your science life. We call them detritivores. So this is a word that you probably have not heard before outside of a biology classroom. So detritus means garbage. Okay, so detritus means garbage or leftover junk. I'll read this and then pause. Consumers that feed on garbage, such as dead animals, fallen leaves and branches, and animal waste, are detritivores. We'll name 3. And then detritivores that cause decay by breaking down tissue and waste into smaller molecules are called decomposers.
Is that what a vulture is?
Fur. They're really well adapted for eating rotting flesh. So what would happen if it weren't for these guys?
We'd all have a bunch of these.
Well, the world would be covered in junk. The world would be covered in dead stuff. None of it would ever go away. You are living your lives based on the assumption that if something dies and falls down in a field, it'll go away. It'll disappear. Somebody will take care of that. And they do. Some of the detritivores that you are probably not so familiar with. Let me shrink this down. If you go down to Beaver Creek, and again, if you haven't been down to Beaver Creek, you have homework. You need to go. It's gorgeous. I was just down there yesterday. Down within a stream, you've got all these little rocks on the bottom of the stream. What falls into the stream from the trees all around it? Leaves, branches, there's fish poop, there's dead bugs, there's dead anything else that falls in.
Fish poop falls in?
Well, fish poop is in there already because the fish just poop. But, you know, there's all this other stuff in the creek. Lots and lots of leaves. And there are insects that live in streams that do nothing but shred leaves all day. There are distinct ecological niches. Anybody here go fly fishing? You fly fish. Have you fly fished? You want to learn to fly fish. Okay. So people who fly fish stand there, and I've heard that it is like the best form of focusing your mind that exists. And you stand there and you just throw and you basically cast and pull and cast and pull and cast and pull, and you know, focus on nothing but that little tiny fake bug on the end of your line. A lot of the little tiny fake bugs that people use in fly fishing, they're larval forms. So what they are before they grow up are shredders. They spend their entire day tearing apart leaves in the bottoms of streams and eating parts of them. That would be a detritivore. There are a lot of insect detritivores. Now, there are some other detritivores that They're a special kind of detritivore. They're called a decomposer. So a detritivore, like a possum, a turkey vulture, a crow, a leaf shredder, and a stream, these guys actually eat the big chunks of dead stuff. The detritivores are actually taking the tissue and they're taking waste, including fecal material. That's poop, folks. And eating the poop. Eating the dead stuff. I want you all... Okay, this is really gross. Well, it's not gross. It's fascinating. It's amazing. It's wonderful. But a lot of people find it disturbing, and I don't know why. Let's imagine a raccoon ambling along a country road. Gets hit by a car. You now have a dead raccoon. Within a few hours, actually within minutes, changes start to occur. Within a few hours, those changes begin to be evident. You ever see a dead raccoon on a hot day? They fill up with gas. They're like a balloon. Sorry. Told you. I warned you. They're like a balloon. Every single warm-blooded animal on this planet carries a toolbox for its own dismantling. Do you know where it carries it? You're carrying it. You are carrying, right now, the toolbox to take apart your entire body. It's in your gut. Well, it's not the acid. It's the bacteria. Right now, in your gut, are all the bacteria that are needed to completely disassemble your body into just carbon molecules. Wow. That raccoon ambling along the country road, boom, wham. The minute it dies, its body chemistry starts to change. And the bacteria that are going to break down its entire body become dominant in the little ecosystem of its gut. And it starts to all break apart. Those bacteria belch out gas, which makes the whole thing stretch out, blow up. They start to break down all the tissues, all the blood, everything that's in there starts getting pulled apart. That's a decomposer. So, name me 3 decomposers. Well, pardon? No. Bacteria are the big one. So So are the huge decomposers. Pardon? Fungi are a decomposer. And what? Maggots are typically thought of as a decomposer. Worms are often a decomposer. A lot of your decomposers tend to be your tiniest things. There are also, just like I said, there were shredders in the stream that made their living doing nothing but shredding up leaves. There are also insects inside streams that are decomposing those pieces of wood, those chunks of leaves once the shredders are done with them. Dead fish, fish poop. Poop, manure, anybody's. Also contains in it all the bacteria that are needed to break it down, to decompose it. So we don't play with poop because it's full of bacteria.
And because it's gross.
It's gross to you because 50,000 years of human evolution, the people who survived and passed on their genes were the ones who thought poop was gross. Seriously. Your ancestors are protecting you from all kinds of diseases because you see poop and you walk the other way. That's a protective reflex. That's evolution in action. Okay, so these decomposers are the things that do the final breakdown. So let's get some more of these slips written. So you know that energy flows from one organism to another in an ecosystem. We have 2 ways to show this, food chains and food webs. We're going to do some of both. We're going to build some individual food chains, and then we'll put them together and make food webs. On the OGT, when you take the OGT, which you will all take in the spring, that will be your ticket out of high school. On the science OGT, I have never seen an OGT that did not have a food web on it. Now, it's not just like, what is this? Who eats who? But it's questions about energy transfer. And in a food web, the arrows go in the direction that the energy is being transferred. So the energy is being transferred from the grass to the deer, from the grass to the grasshopper, from the grass to the, that's a prairie dog, from the grasshopper to the bird. So basically, yeah, the arrow is pointing at who's doing the eating. It's not pointing at who's being eaten. If you do that backwards, you're saying that the grass eats the deer, and that's just stupid and terrifying. So tomorrow we're going to start building some food chains and food webs. We are also going to, I'm going to pose to you, how many of you have watched Survivor? Okay. Well, we're going to do a little Survivor scenario tomorrow. You're going to have to figure out how to survive on a desert island. Are you allowed to have, no.
Are you talking about the card?
What?
The card?
No.
I have no idea what he's talking about. You're going to get a scenario, and we're going to walk through it, and we're going to talk about what you think is the best way to survive long term. Okay, question.
Would you take a knife or a sock if you had to go on a certain island? Would you take a knife or a sock?
If those are my only options, I quit. I'm swimming for land.
No, like be honest, like a knife or a sock?
A rope. I don't know.
No, like if you could choose a knife or a sock to take with you, would you take the knife or would you take the sock?
I see much more limited. Yeah.
You can put a rock in a sock and that's your weapon. And
It's going to be really hard to butcher with the sock. With the knife, I could like cut vegetation and make ropes and weave myself baskets, and I'm kind of going for the knife. Okay, you can take a sock.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, we know.
Well, let me set this up for you preliminarily. I'll tell you a little bit about the scenario you're going to get tomorrow. It's you and I think 10 other people, a desert island, 1 cow, and 50 bushels of wheat. It's not one of your options. And a sock. Fine, Zach, you have a sock. Then you can wear the sock on your head, shade from the head. If I get bored, I can use the knife and carve on stuff. I can whittle myself little figures.
He said something about like supplying water with the sock.
How did you imagine that you would get water in the sock?
and it filters the water.
Have you tried carrying water in a sock?
You can fill it up and just
It was so funny.
Again, I could weave a basket out of vines if I have a knife.
try. It takes a lot more time.
If I'm on a desert island, I'm not so worried about
Surviving
time.
with a sock is probably going to take a lot more time than.
Yeah, I'd rather have a knife as a weapon than a sock.
I'd rather just not take.
I'd rather have a multi-purpose tool in the
I'd rather
knife.
just not
Have a
take that.
shotgun left out when it can chill.
Well, if our only options are knife or sock, I'm going with the knife.
It's underneath.
Yeah, the shotgun would be like more.
What's a what? Tundra. It's cold desert. Most of Alaska is a tundra.
They're arguing with me, saying they have like.
Well, permafrost is a feature of tundra.
Yeah, it's like a frozen layer.
You can what?
Wrong.
No. Tundras are on the continent. Tundra is a biome.
Well, permafrost is just like frozen ground.
Permafrost is permanently frozen ground. So in places where there is permafrost, what exists on top of it is typically tundra. Did you go get your note, Mr. Long? Shocking. Oh, Mr. Short. No, Mr. Long. Logan Short. No, Short. Long. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know. Short. Logan Short.
Did you ever have a Mr. Long?
No. But Logan. It's the Lon and the short. Actually, no, I have had students with the last name Long. I think, yeah, I've had students with the last name Long.
Josh, no, he left in 8th grade. Zach.
Not here. I think it was at Latonia. It was at Latonia.
Staff, please excuse interruption. Mrs. Rhodes' 6th period class will report to study hall in the gymnasium this period. Again, Mrs. Rhodes' 6th
Anybody in
period
there?
Spanish class, report to the
You're
gymnasium
in
for
Mrs.
study
Rhodes'
hall.
class? Have a good evening, folks. You'll have a recall quiz when you walk in tomorrow. Woo! I know you're excited.
Maybe I'll remember the word tomorrow.
Try to remember the heart.